At this point of our edit, I'm going to add last adjustment layer and control in a very general way the light and shadows. So let's move to this little icon. Let's add another adjustment layer, curves. And now I'm going to use this tool in a similar way as we would have used levels. So as you remember, the darker areas in the image, the shadows, are on the left hand side of the histogram, and as you can see, we have this gap here. The histogram is reflected here in this graph, and to fill in this information, I'm going just to pull this slider towards the right hand side, and that way I'm just expanding the histogram. Now the image has much more rich shadows and has much more darker tones. However, I would like to have this adjustment applied only at the lower part of the image. At the top, I would like to keep this nice, natural, soft light and have the face beautifully lit. I would like to have this light slightly, in a very natural way, softly vanishing towards this right bottom corner of the image. So I have applied these adjustments, and I can maybe add another control point around this area and pull it a little bit downwards. Now all I want to do is to mask this layer to get rid of this darkened shadows in the upper part of the image, as I want to have it still strongly and nice lit, filled with this natural daylight, and just to have those shadows introduced, closing the composition with these soft shadows. So I'm going to be painting on the white thumbnail, on the white mask, with the black brush, with the black color. So I have the brush selected. All I need to do is to swap these color samples. I'm hitting X on the keyboard, and that way I have the black color as the foreground sample. So having the black color selected, I'm going to increase size of the brush. I'm hitting a right square bracket, and I'm going to increase opacity to around 50, since I want to apply it in a pretty strong way. I'm sure that I want to get rid of this darkening here. As you can see, now I'm going towards this nice gradation. Maybe this shadow on her right hand is too harsh, so I can soften it a little bit. In order to do this, I need to decrease opacity. I'm going to change it to 10, decrease size of the brush, and just paint over the hand to make it a little bit softer here. Maybe I want to brighten this part as well. I don't want to lose details of the dress, so I would like to still have a little bit of the material texture visible. Okay, so that way we have the light reaching her right hand side and gradually disappearing towards the right hand side of the image. That way we have finished editing the image, and the very last step that I usually apply to my portraits is to sharpen selected details. So in this case, I would like to sharpen a little bit her eyes. The original raw image was nicely sharp and crisp, so I'm not going to overdo this. I'm going to apply this in a very, very soft way. And in the end, I'm going to decrease visibility of this layer that was turning my image to black and white, just to have this nice balance and to get back some of the color to finish with this nicely desaturated vintage effect. So let's now sharpen the eyes. In order to do this, I need to create a stamp layer. So I have to have selected the top layer of my layers stack. As you can see, these are all the layers I have created during the edit. So having the top layer selected, I am hitting Alt, Shift, Command, E on my keyboard, and that way I have flattened those layers. I have this one layer at the very top here, as you can see, this layer contains all these adjustments. However, I didn't flatten the whole image. I can still get back, and if I get rid of this layer, I can still control these particular layers. I can still work with these adjustments. However, to sharpen the image in a fast way, it's a very effective technique to do this that way, to create the stamp. And now we need to turn the blend mode of this top layer to overlay. So from here, I'm going to select from the drop-down menu the blend mode overlay. And after changing blend mode of this layer to overlay, I'm heading to the Photoshop menu bar and selecting from filters, other and high pass. Once I have selected high pass, I have this pop-up window that allows me to control how the filter is applied. This is a very high resolution image, so I can go around 2 is too far, maybe 1.8, as I don't want to introduce the halo in the image. If I go too far, I will run in trouble. So to sharpen the eyes, the value that I'm usually using is between 1 and 2. So I would say around maybe 1.8 will be enough in this particular case. And if I toggle off and on the layer, I can see how it's affecting the eyes. I don't want to have this sharpening applied to the rest of the image. I don't want to have this adjustment applied to the skin or the hair. So in order to apply it only to the eyes, I need to mask this layer. As I have created this layer myself, it doesn't come with a mask attached. So I have to create the mask myself. It's very, very simple. All I need to do is to have this layer selected, and I'm pressing the Alt key, holding it, and now hitting the mask icon here. That way I have created the black mask. If I wouldn't be pressing and holding the Alt key, let me reverse. If I would just have clicked on this mask thumbnail, I would have by default create a white mask, and from here you can just invert the mask as we did before. So I can just click Command I, and I'm getting the same result, and now I can mask the effect with the white soft brush. I can make the sharpening visible. So I have now selected the Move tool. I need to select brush, so I'm hitting B on my keyboard. The size of the brush is way too big. If I would be working with this size, I would sharpen the eye, her eyebrow, and a bit of her cheek, which is not good. So I'm pressing the left square bracket, decreasing the size of the brush. I need to zoom in and be more precise at this point. Opacity 20 is fine. So having the mask selected, and I need to swap these color samples, because by painting with black on the black mask, I'm not going to get any results. I need to swap these colors. So I'm just hitting X on my keyboard and changing color to white. And now when I will be working with the brush tool, painting with the white color over the black mask, I'm just sharpening the eyes. So let's move over to the other eye. Let's sharpen it a bit. I can go very, very slightly over the nose, maybe the lips, and that's it. I don't want to go further. So that way, if I toggle this layer off and on, I can see this very subtle effect I have achieved. I have just sharpened the eyes, a little bit of the eyelashes in a very soft and subtle way. Okay, so that way we are almost ready. We have controlled the light, we have introduced all those adjustment layers. As you remember, we were gradually building up the final effect, starting from this image, and we achieved this point as the result. And now you can either leave the image as black and white. However, I would like to show you that in a very, very simple way, you can still get back to this initial layer that we applied after our cleanup and liquify tool. And from here, you can either change the opacity of the layer, you can make it less transparent. So that way, by decreasing opacity of this adjustment layer, you have the color that was present in the original image visible. So it's up to you. It's all about personal taste, personal preferences. I like keeping this color values pretty low, so I wouldn't go further than 40. I really like this desaturated effect. At the first glance, the image almost looks like as it was black and white. However, when you look at the lips and then you start noticing this warmer shade of the skin, I can actually increase the opacity of the layer so the color will be even more subtle. Okay, so that way we have finished our edit, and this is the final result that we have achieved after applying all those steps and starting from this full color image lit with natural light. By gradually applying the adjustments, cleaning up, liquify tool here. In this adjustment layer, we turn the image to black and white. This was the full effect at 100%. Then we have applied general S-shaped curve to control the overall contrast and light in the whole image. Next, we have worked with the hair. We have introduced these highlights and brought up a bit of more details in the hair. Next, we worked with the upper part of the body, with the neck, collarbone, the cleavage, the hands, the arms. Next, we just brought a little bit more highlights to the eyes. The next and last curve adjustment layer was controlling the light and these shadows, introducing shadows in the right and bottom part of the photograph and creating this nice gradation. And as the very last step, we have sharpened the eyes. And now, as I just presented you a few minutes before, you can decrease the opacity of the black and white adjustment layer, the black and white tool, and have the result of the saturated colors, or if you go further, you can have a bit stronger colors. It's up to you. As I said, I like keeping my values around 50, 60, it depends on the image. I don't want to have these strong orange and yellow shades on the body, so I'm happy with this desaturated result. Let's have a last glance at the final image. Don't worry if these tools appear a bit too complex to you, if working with the masks or the adjustment layers seems a bit too complicated. As I said, it's only question of practice. If you work with several different images, several different edits, all those tools, all this knowledge will become your second nature. You will be making these decisions very intuitively, and you won't be thinking about which key to press and which adjustment to apply. The most important part, as with developing any skill, is to be persistent, to repeat those steps, to work further with different images. So having these results achieved with this particular image, we are ready to apply knowledge and the techniques that we have learned during this edit, and to apply them in action again and work with next edit. So I hope you are ready, and see you in the next video.